Well, Garland Nixon joins me now, and I'm always a happy man when he does, even when the issues that we're being forced to endlessly discuss are far from happy. Garland, welcome back to the mother of all talk shows. You had Trump's birthday military parade go past your door yesterday. I've got to say, as someone who was at the victory parade in Moscow last month, and as someone who frequently marvels at the changing of the guard and British military parades, it didn't fill me with any great confidence that the US Army is itching to get into a new Middle East war and is likely to do well if it does. Tell us about that from your point of view.
Well, I think right now, the traditional neocon elements are always itching to get into another war, particularly with Iran. I think one of the things that's interesting right now is Donald Trump is in very serious trouble politically. You know, he really doesn't have, in the establishment and politics, he really doesn't have much of a support base. His support base is solely the MAGA movement, which is a kind of a working class voter movement. Yeah, I'm on the left. I have ideological differences from them, but realistically, they're the only real political movement in America that can manifest itself at the by putting politicians in office. And if you look online and you look at what's happening, they are very upset. They're very concerned that Donald Trump may drag the U.S. in a war, and they're saying this is not what we voted for. So interestingly, as Donald Trump did his big birthday celebration, that didn't, in the MAGA movement, they weren't concerned about that much. There wasn't a lot of, celebration there. There's more anger and concern. And of course, there's the manufactured, no kings, whatever that is, no kings protest that's run by Ezra Levin and Leah Greenberg, a couple of, former State Department, former Obama officials that, I'll put it like this. Leah Greenberg is one of the two people who really put the whole No Kings protest together. And she worked for Tom Perello for years, who also happened to be the CEO of George Soros's Open Society Institute. So the No Kings protest was a fraud. Trump's thing didn't, really hit big. So everybody here is really concerned about the fallout, and I use that word guardedly, of the Iran conflict.
Now, you've just had one imbecile as your president, and I think it's common knowledge now that Joe Biden was literally demented for much, if not all, of his presidential term. It must concern you that we might be heading in that direction again, because Donald Trump's statements one day to another on issues which could lead to World War III are so demented, so contradictory, so utterly at odds with each other, you wonder at the cognizance, sanity of the person saying them and writing them. Either he was lying, that America had nothing to do with this, or he's paying for a woman in Tel Aviv who does exactly what she likes, whether he keeps on paying or not. That's known as a cuck.
Well, any way you look at it, the actions that Donald Trump has taken, the statements that he's made over the last few days have completely destroyed his credibility. As you said, they've been so contradictory. It seems as though when it appears that Israel's attack is going well, he jumps up and takes all the credit for it. Look at that. I was part of it. I helped to hoodwink and bamboozle these people using negotiations as a ploy so we could attack them, which anyone can see why a head of state would not benefit from taking those actions. But when things turn around within 24 hours and it seems like Israel's getting mauled by Iranian missiles, he suddenly turns around and says, we want this war over. This thing has to end. I talked to Putin. He agrees with me. It has to end. 24 hours after he was celebrating that it started. And you have to ask yourself, as you said, can't he understand, or can he actually see that he looks, let's be honest, he's making himself look like Either he's becoming demented or he's just a fool, because no intelligent person would do that, and not recognizing how absurd these statements are when put in the context of a 24-hour period.
Now, of course, he appears tall because of the flatness of the surrounding political landscape. The Democrats are still in a state of complete disarray, and in any case are embarked on a new pussy hat crusade paid for by George Soros and co. Amongst the Republicans, though, I noticed that Steve Bannon is firing hourly broadsides at the possibility of Trump taking us into a new, at least, all-out regional war. At worst, the danger of it becoming a world war. He's representing that blue-collar trend that you refer to, isn't he? Who's representing the opposite? Is Trump isolated, is what I'm really asking. Is there anybody with any sense on his own side that can pull him into line?
You have to suspect, based on his latest moves, his latest inclinations to try to get out of that someone in his inner circle, that people within his inner circle that are advising him of the significant military and political trouble that he's in. And he has a pretty good political intuition. So I think, he looks online. I think he's looking at the posts of people saying, Douglas McGregor is out there. People should read his posts. That people who he know well and who have supported him are telling him, you're in deep and serious trouble. Many of us discussed it beforehand. And said basically what would happen if Donald Trump dragged the United States into this war, and the neocons would love this. They would get their war against Iran, but additionally, it would be the end of MAGA, that it would wipe MAGA out. And I think that we are on the verge, if Donald Trump does this, God knows how many bad things could happen. We could drag other superpowers into it. But for sure here, that will be the end of MAGA. And once Donald Trump is fully isolated from MAGA, the machine will crush him. The machine, once the mainstream Republicans don't have to worry about going home and having the their own MAGA base vote them out of office. Once they abandon Donald Trump, then they'll crush him. They'll impeach him. They'll take him out any way they can. They won't have to, do the sniper on the roof trick. They can just do it politically, and they will if Donald Trump keeps going in the direction he does. And here's the thing: it's not that someone else is isolating him. He's isolating himself with his moves.
Now, neither of us has a crystal ball, but you are an acute observer of the Washington scene. What do you think might come next in this story?
Well, there are two things here. Donald Trump is a hard one to figure out for this reason. The one thing I'll say about Donald Trump that kind of differentiates him from the neocons, people discuss, he wants peace, or he wants this, or he doesn't want this or that. In reality, the outcome is the intent. It doesn't matter what he wants or doesn't want. It only matters what the final outcome is, what is produced. And right now, based on what has happened, if Donald Trump does not use the reverse gear that he has, but if he doesn't, that means that the United States will get involved in Iran, and all bets are off. There's no guarantees that what will happen with Russia and China. And certainly at that point, I would imagine if you back Iran into a corner, they will close the Straits of Hormuz first. They may attack bases, and at that point, the U.S. Economy goes bad, and that is absolutely it for Donald Trump. But that may be the least of our problems if we get to that point.
Yes, indeed. And of course, the Samson option is always not far from the agenda of these Zionist leaders. The Samson option being the launching of Israel's illegally held nuclear weapons, at least 80 of them, when Mordechai Vanunu, the brave Jewish whistleblower, told us about them 35 years ago now. If that 80 has become 180 or 580, we really do have doomsday scenario. Even one Israeli nuclear weapon fired at Iran will mean the end of all the countries surrounding Iran. The very countries that Donald Trump returned from, dripping in diamonds and gold, just a few weeks ago.
Well, yeah, we know, that there's no telling what would happen. Certainly there's fallout. There is the end of the Western economy. I mean, people would be looking for a time machine to go back to 1929, to the good old days, if we end up seeing something happens of that level, because once basically the entire oil infrastructure in the Middle East is gone, that's pretty much it for, the West as we know it, and most of the world will be suffering. I would imagine that Russia has oil and they'd probably share it with their friends like China and India, but as far as the West, we probably wouldn't get a drop of it. But that would be terrible. So many people would die. It would be horrible. It's unthinkable, the levels that this could go to, which just goes to show the recklessness of the U.S. government as this empire unravels. It just goes to show the position that Donald Trump is in, as he seems to be very much incompetent and unable to navigate his way through these neocon inclinations all around him. It shows that he put this cabinet together of incompetent neocons, and right now we are all held hostage. Certainly, no one believes that we'd be better off with Kamala Harris. But the bottom line is what we're also seeing here is, to some extent, it doesn't matter all that much, because the machine behind it is the same. Right now, if we can get through we're just like this. Let's hope we make it through the next week or two. Who knows what's coming in the future? But we're in a very bad spot here.
Finally, Garland, what's the current state of play between your friend and mine, Elon Musk, and the Trump presidency? Has Trump done another baerbock on that? Is he now friends again with Musk, or are they still at daggers drawn?
As far as I can tell, they seem to be friends again. But, it's the politics of D.C., and you've heard this before. No permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. So while these people, so-called fought it out a little bit, they had a little bit of a pillow fight of words. The bottom line is, look, Elon Musk needs his multi-billion-dollar contracts. Donald Trump needs, just in case he needs more money for whatever reason, he needs a guy worth 300 or 400 billion in his camp. And no matter what little fights they have, when it's all over and done with, they need each other. They potentially need each other for things, and they'll come back together as, quote, friends. What I think we're saying is they were never really friends in the first place. They were business associates, and as business associates, they can brush off these kinds of things. We'll talk about it. We'll think they're angry at each other, but they're both looking at their bank accounts, their bottom lines, and what they need for financial advantage. And that's the only thing that really, I think, matters in their relationship from the beginning.